and just hold and smile.
Don't move.
Anyways.
Okay, so we are rolling in and we can get started anytime now.
All right. Welcome back.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's the first podcast of the new year. Episode 11.
You remembered.
Oh, well, I definitely looked it up beforehand. So
Gotcha.
I'm going to have to remember what episode it was.
I think every episode has started with us trying to figure out what episode it was, save for maybe number 1.
Oh, look at me being prepared. Except for maybe number 1. Maybe.
So we have a guest today.
Yes. An awesome, awesome guest that I found out from a PR company that I work with. And I was going to go to an event and I wasn't able to go because the baby was sick. And I got sent an amazing bottle of wine. And the whole card behind it was, your baby won't let you sleep. There's a wine for that. And nice. I thought it was very clever and awesome. And the wine was delicious. So I wanted to have you on the show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I don't want to butcher your name again. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Kanchan.
Perfect.
Okay.
Kanchan Schindlauer. Just rolls off the tongue, right? There's a couple of us out there. No, there's actually not.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's not a couple of us out there.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. So you started the company Chipmonkey Wine.
I did. Just last year, or just actually a couple months ago. Launched a few months ago.
No way.
About 6 months ago, yeah.
So the PR event that Susan totally bailed on, was that kind of like a coming out party for you guys? Was it like the big announcement?
Yeah, it kind of was. It was like a big launch party, and it was pretty much the party of the year, so kind of sucks that you missed it.
I know.
It was a who's
kids,
who
man.
of, no, it was great though. It was a lot of fun. It was just kind of to let people know that this is out here, and this is a gift-giving option, and it's unique and fun and
awesome.
Cool.
So let's not, I mean, we'll get to you and how the business got going. I think that's even more interesting side of the story. But for those listening, like what would I, as myself, how would I use your company?
Oh my gosh, you could use it so many ways. The point of this company is to bring a smile to someone. So we have over 60 gifting options, and by we, I mean me and I, the company. Anything from birthdays and anniversaries to things like sorry your boss sucks, or sorry your coworker sucks, sorry your baby won't let you sleep, what Susan got. And the point of this is people bitch and people tell you stories. People are going through a lot, and as friends, as coworkers, as family, it's our opportunity. We always have these opportunities to bring smiles and to let people know that you've been listening to all this bitching. And so, I have friends who complain about their boss for 6 months. Well, when I send them this gift, they're like, "Oh my God, you actually do care." Yeah, and you were thinking, and you are there for me in my corner. And so you could use it for things like that.
That's awesome. I saw your coaster.
Yeah.
And so it was on the kitchen table for a long, long time. And obviously in the cannabis industry, for me, there was like, oh, there's a strain for that. I was like, I want to steal
there's
this
a weed
idea.
for that.
Yeah, because it's a really good idea in that there really is, it's a way to tell somebody that you care about them and that you're listening and you recognize the struggle that they're having. Yeah. But there's also a lot of funny and fun versions of it too. Like nailed the marketing.
The one that, sorry, a bird pooped on your head.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it happens. It's good luck if someone sends you wine for it, though.
But like if you meet someone at a business event and they say, oh, I had the craziest day, a bird actually pooped on my head, and you follow up that meeting with wine and a card that says, I mean, you're in.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I actually have a lot of people use it as client gifts, because you can put your logo on the front of the card, and then your personal touch is there, your message is in the card, and then I write something funny or clever or try to.
Yeah.
Well, and the front of the cards are usually an image, right? Because the one that I got sent was like me and the baby. And it was so clever. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. It's
What's the
so
difference
personal.
between, you get a lot of stuff between like all the different promo things that you do. Like that's the reason we're sitting here, is like, this struck a chord. This makes sense. This is the kind of person, whoever's behind this is doing the kind of things that we want to embrace and want to celebrate and want to share with anyone who's trying to get off their ass or get out from behind a cubicle or get away from a science degree.
Yeah, do something different.
All of the above.
Yeah. So have you always been passionate about wine? What is your story kind of leading up to this point?
Yeah, I mean, I like to say it's been under my nose the whole time. But, I was a scientist for years. I was associate professor at a local school here. And, I had a passion for it for a while. And then you kind of sit there and you realize, like, wow, the work I'm doing is not the work that I signed up to be doing. Like 10, 15 years down the line, you're spending all your days doing things that are kind of that are asked of you and not passion projects, and not really feeling like I was making a difference anymore. And so I actually used the birth of my daughter as an opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to step back. And I stayed home with her for 2 years. And then I started reading about wine, just kind of out of the blue. Someone suggested it. And the funny thing about it is I'm not a big reader. Like, I don't think my husband had actually seen me read a book until then. Like, he assumed.
Susan was not a reader for a long time.
No. And then I started reading. I was like, whoa, you can like really learn stuff to apply to your life. It's
put
crazy.
These words together in a row. And, wow.
Crazy.
So, but
Who would have thought?
Like, my husband hasn't seen me do a lot of things. Like, he didn't believe I ran marathons back in the day. You know, there's a lot he hasn't seen me do. But then when he saw me read, he was like, man, you're really into this. Like,
Wait,
what is this?
you've run full marathons?
I finished 2. I mean, I'm not saying I sprinted. I'm no Kenyan.
No, but I've done a couple half marathons, and every time I do it, I think there's no way I could do a full marathon. I think I would die.
There's a past me that was quite a little whippersnapper.
That's
and 2 years
incredible.
later, I'm just like, hey, can I not fall off the stool? Keep my back straight.
Well, that's very impressive. Anyways,
Thank you.
I didn't mean to interrupt the flow, but I was like, dang, I just feel like that's incredible.
No, and I actually used to be more of a cyclist, but anyway, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, so I started reading and I just couldn't put these books down, and I thought, okay, well, there's something here. And being kind of like the knowledge seeker that I've been for quite a while, like I just love to learn new things, like love to pick up new learn new experiences, like get experiences and try to figure things out, problem solving, which is going to come back like over and over and over for me in the last year. Just that thrill of problem solving and thrill of learning. So
there's a lot of science in wine too. Like,
there's a lot of science, which is like the least interesting part for me for some reason. I think because I'm just like so done with science.
Yeah.
But like just everything else, like the social aspects, of course, the history, the geology, the way the climate affects it, grape growing, and just everything, the taste, of course, first and foremost, the taste. And and then again, like the networking and social aspects, everything. I just love the industry. I love learning about wine. And so I decided to go ahead and see if I could study enough to become a certified somm. So I did that. And then got a WSET3 is another governing board that I did certification through, and just ended up working at a wine education company for a while. Had a great experience with that, and then my son was born, and then life got kind of twisted upside down a little bit again because he was a little more spirited than my daughter was. Wasn't expecting that for kid number 2, and so kind of took a break again, and then down the course of the line ended up getting this idea for this company. And
how did that,
a year later, here I am.
How did the idea come to be? Did it like hit you, in a dream, or was it kind of like evolving over time?
Was it a pain in the ass?
Oh boy. Well, it's actually it's a little bit of a sad story, but a dear friend of mine in college, so 12 college housemates, and this is, we graduated in 97. This is quite a while ago. We're all just closest of friends still. And my dear friend lost her husband to cancer, brain cancer, actually, about last year, a little bit before this time. And I went to the funeral in Ohio, and we got to spend a lot of time with her after the service. And she was telling us all these stories about things she's been going through the last 3 years, and especially toward the end of Dan's life. And one of the things that kept coming up was this wine that she had, this go-to wine. And this thing is just crap. I'm not going to say the name of it, but it's grocery store wine. And the thing that killed me was it's $20. It's not even cheap. So here she is, like,
thinking she's getting, a little fancy, and it's just garbage.
or just like, and I'm grateful that this wine helped her through a tough time.
Yeah.
But I just thought, I came back home and I was like, God, I can't take away my dear friend's pain, but I sure as hell can get her some better wine. And so I actually came home, and that thought kept running through my mind. And my husband and I were at a winery, local winery here, and I had 6 bottles of this red that we like shipped to her. And I woke up at 3 a.m. in panic. I'm talking like tossed the covers off, like sweating. And I was like, oh shit, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done. Like, this is my friend for 20 years. She's hilarious, awesome, strong, brave. She's every adjective that's positive in the book. She's going through hell. She has 2 small kids. She just lost her husband. And I'm like, oh, here's 6 wines. Have a good day, good luck. And I just thought, it's so impersonal. And at 3 a.m, it actually occurred to me to pair the wines to her life. So she was telling us these stories, like her oldest son was getting his first mustache hairs. So I was like, oh, well, not a typical somm technique, but you know what? Let's go ahead and pair color to color in this case. So I grabbed her like a New Zealand Pinot Gris from a producer I know I love. And I was like, yeah, this is going to match the bleach blonde mustache hairs perfectly.
Oh my gosh.
What do you pair with all the well-wishers popping by? They mean well, but usually overstay their welcome. Grab an Aussie Shiraz, If your dark stained teeth don't scare them away, at 15% alcohol, your slurring certainly will. And so I just, this literally came to me at 3 a.m. I'm in bed, like writing this down on a notepad. got up 2 hours later, 3 hours later, canceled the wine shipment from the winery, found some wines online, wrote up this little note, and I emailed it to her. Went to take my kids to school, and I just thought, I just want to make her smile. That's like, please just let me just make her smile. And she just went crazy for it. She just thought this is exactly the thing she needed at the time to laugh. And there was a couple more wine pairings that were included. She sent it to all my housemates in college without me knowing. And they were all like, that's your business. You want to start a wine business. That's it.
Well, it's one of those ideas where you think, how has no one thought of this before?
Yeah.
Because it's like you said, it's so personal and effective. And some people like wine. It just seems to go hand in hand.
Tastes way better than flowers.
Yeah. But I think you'd have to have the unique set of like humor and compassion and knowledge about wine to be able to put something like that together. So I feel like you're like the perfect storm.
Yeah, I think, and usually good things happen at 3 a.m, when you least expect it, and you're not forcing it. It's just kind of rolled.
Our whole relationship started between the hours of 11 and 3 a.m. because we'd get done, or I'd come back from the farm. I was going out every week, and I'd come back from the farm and be like, who do I know that's still up or wants to go grab a drink or have a late dinner? And it was Susan. And we spent most of our time brainstorming, through that whole session. And that was always those late nights.
Yeah. And I lived in Lower Queen Anne. So he'd be like, your car broke down. It was 11 p.m. And he's like, it's pretty late. I'm like, you can still come.
I had to drive back home. I was like, I'm going to need to turn around and take this car back.
Yeah.
It's an old Jaguar that I loved, but it was like constantly
breaking down.
I was trying to look like a badass, but I'm going to take my car home. And do you still want me to come over? Because it's going to be another 45 minutes before I can.
But we would always like get food, or go grab food or drinks and just kind of sit and brainstorm. And it was like, I loved being up at that time because most other people are sleeping.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like we are capable of doing that now anymore.
I was going to say,
but,
those days
in
are
a
gone.
past life.
Yeah, in the past life.
Pre-kids.
So what are some of the obstacles you had? Like, you came up with a business idea? Like, did you just go balls to the wall and run with it? Or were you kind of nudging it along? What did you do?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say maybe more ovaries to the wall, but yeah. I definitely, I know. So, it was about actually, I think January 4th of last year, 2019, this recent past year, that I got my LLC. And I'm kind of one of those people, kind of a mentor lady said to me, I said, in like 5 years, I have this business idea I want to start. And she said, wait, you're a freaking scientist. Like, you ran our lab. Like, you have the operations experience. Just go try it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, like, I don't need to hear something like that more than once.
Yeah.
Like, I'm already kind of a go-getter. And I was like, what the hell? I guess I will. And just, got the LLC. Then I, one step after another. I'm kind of one of those people that believes truly in anything in life. If you just take that first step, the rest of the steps just kind of come easier and easier. And so, just got the LLC. Then I had to figure out the name. That's actually, I think, one of the most challenging things, is starting your own business, because so much of the identity is wrapped around the name.
Yeah.
And that was extremely hard because, as you can imagine, there are no original names in the wine business.
Oh, I know.
I bet.
When I'm looking for inspiration, I'll walk through the wine aisle, and just because there's a ton of great names. So it's been done so many thousands of times. And most of the, the big ad agencies, that's what they do is just what's left, basically. But I'm curious.
There's only so many variations of vino and bottle,
right.
Glass.
Spin on how many different languages can you say red?
Exactly. Exactly. So, Chipmonkey came to me. It was my kids' nicknames. My 2-year-old's Chipmunk and my daughter's 5, and she's Monkey. And my husband and I are like, oh, of course, that makes sense. There are reasons for everything, including why we drink. So, and I'm only like half joking.
Yeah,
no, I understand. We understand.
It's Monday, and we're all drinking.
We're in the throes of it. Yep.
But so that once I got that, and I didn't actually like love the name at first, but that's not what's important. Like, you fall in love with that after time.
It grows,
and then it's so personal to me. And then I thought, okay, as long as it's personal, which it is, very personal, that will that love is going to grow. So and then the uniqueness was there, and then it was just a matter of get the logo designed, find someone to help with that if I was just getting stuck. So I think one of the things that I found early on was knowing that I love to learn and I can figure a lot out. I'm good at that, but there's limitations, right? We all have strengths and weaknesses, and trying to figure out like what just because I'm good at something doesn't mean I'm the right person to get it done.
Right.
And just because I'm bad at something doesn't mean I shouldn't take the time to learn it and
Right.
still get it done. And just kind of like, that's been the constant struggle and fun part is like trying to figure out, like, I'll try to teach myself After Effects to get an animation going. And 8 hours later, when I have absolutely nothing to show
You got
for
YouTube
it.
up on one
Sounds
screen and
so
After
much like
Effects on the other.
Jake.
Yeah.
It sounds so much like Jake, where I'll be like, I don't want to learn how to do that. Like, I will cut it off. Like, I'm not interested. Even like when he edits stuff, I was like, I'm going to tap out. This is boring.
It's an episode of Vanderpump Rules.
Go check that out. That's so cool.
No, I get there. I get to the point where I'm like 8 hours later, I have literally nothing to show for it. Like I'm at the same place where I was when I started, and I'm like, okay, yeah, no, let me find someone to do this one. Like, but then if I feel like I'm making progress, then it's like, okay, yeah, I can do this and save a little money, and it's fun trying to figure stuff out. And,
So, and this is again, if you're like, this is kind of like you're teetering on trade secrets or things that you're working on, just kind of say so. But as far as I think you've created a marketing monster, like it's really going to come down to how well you can put this opportunity in front of people. And I was asking Susan, like, what are different ways or ideas that just like off the cuff we have of how if it was our company, how we would put it in front of folks or get people out, get the idea in front of people. Have you had some success yet? Are you to that point now where you're trying to grow the business in that area? What do you feel like you're doing very well, and what's next?
yeah, why don't you tell me your ideas first?
I mean, I was talking about when I asked Susan, like, what would I do with the business? Like, how does her business help me? It's funny. Like, I love the idea. I thought you guys were doing like custom crush wine of your own, under your own label. No. Yeah. Which is, when I was like, when you really know the wine, there's so many relabeling.
Oh yeah. And high quality wine is like one of the differentiators. I mean, I just got so sick of getting these gift baskets from our realtors. And I mean, if they're listening, sorry guys, love you. But you open the wine and I would just take a whiff and I'm like, tell my husband, I can't, it's yours. He'll drink anything, but I'm just like, I can't, I wish they saved $100 and, puts like just donated to charity even. Like I just kind of got to the point where it's not quality.
Yeah.
It's doctored bulk juice that they sell to a place that gets to slap their label on it.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
This is an artisan made, and I'm definitely focused. Like I'm tasting hundreds of wines, so nobody else has to. And
I mean, you got to make the sacrifice. So you got to do it. Yeah. That's really cool.
So from a marketing aspect, I mean, the coasters, I mean, not to say that like a coaster's been done 1,000 times, but you did do a coaster in a different way than most other things I've seen. It's always informative. It's relative. Like, this is our website, go here. And like, it made me laugh. And I found myself turning the damn thing around and reading
We
all of them.
both stared at it. It was literally on our kitchen table for weeks.
But then how do you transition that? Like, because when somebody has that, they're already somewhat aware of your business. Like, how do you pair that with getting a new, tapping into a new audience?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of a big limitation of mine. I'm a one-woman show, so I'm sitting here doing package design, coaster design, writing every single order is handwritten to the order.
That's so
I'm
amazing.
Doing SEO on Google. I'm working with lawyers to get into new states. And so it's just me. And so I think marketing is definitely something that I'm at the point now. I launched a few months ago that I'm ready to do a big marketing push and exploring different avenues. I want to play with video a little bit because I think there's a lot of opportunity to do some funny sketches.
Yeah.
And,
totally.
Like even when you're talking about
that.
your car breaking down, like literally the first thing that comes to mind is, well, there's a wine for that. You can't drive anyway. So you might as well
exactly.
Yep. It's like on the side of the road, gets delivered this package. What?
What? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is amazing.
Should have the tow truck companies bring it. Now we're talking.
I love that.
No, I think you have so many opportunities to market to people, and the way that you can be hyper focused with like Facebook advertising is insane.
Mm-hmm.
So your ability to target somebody who has recently looked up, you can advertise to people who are pregnant before any of their friends know about it because you can do
creepy.
targeted Google search advertising, right? So you could say anyone who's searched, when is it appropriate to tell my friends that I'm pregnant? And if you do a Google search and you do women between 28 and 32 that have done that Google search, you can put an ad in front of that specific person, and the effectiveness of doing. And I was telling Susan, I wouldn't target the mom. I would target her friends.
Buddies,
30 to 60 days later as a, hey, schedule this now so that a month after the baby's born, this lands in her, her front door. So, but the ability to target market through Facebook advertising, I know this is not anything revolutionary coming from this side of the table, but I think with video and so many of the like punny type of things that you can put together, it's limitless.
Well, and I read something somewhere like a month or so ago.
Sounds authentic.
This really
doesn't sound made up at all.
No, it's not. It's not made up at all. But then, you know what? My brain has only so much capacity at this point. Okay,
I get you.
It's after break. You understand?
I get you. 16 days in a row with those little ones.
But they were talking about how like the curated, beautiful feeds of all of these influencers and bloggers, how people aren't engaging with that anymore because they don't see themselves in it, and now they're like actual effective marketing, like the kind of hot button is funny memes or like funny videos because those are resonating more with people. So I feel like, especially if you're doing kind of sketches and that kind of thing, like just to have the humor that you already have in the company, I think is going to go a really long way.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Someone was asking me the other day, like, what is the mission of your company? And I actually like had to think about this. Of course, like I had one to start, and I was like,
you've got this really, beautifully written thesis,
which is like, okay, wait, that's stupid. Okay, so now it's like 6 months later. It's like, you know what? I really do know what the mission is, and it's the exact reason I came up with this at 3 a.m. was to make someone smile, and wine connects people. Like the most fun moments I've ever had are with friends or my husband and family. It's just like sitting around drinking wine, laughing our asses off, and that connection. Sometimes actually the same friend who was the integral in the origin of this. She's actually one of my biggest company's biggest fans, and she and I actually from time to time over the last few years we would actually have a Skype date because she's in Ohio, and we were like, hey, let's have a glass of wine together. Let's schedule that. And
that's cool.
And we'd Skype each other over a glass of wine, even though we couldn't be there. And that's what wine does, right? It connects people.
Yeah.
And that's kind of something that I need to start. Really like that's the essence of my company. And that's something I really need to start going back to that I kind of overlooked in the mumbo jumbo of trying to build a business and everything. And, it's like, wait, let's get back to the core. Like humor is a huge part of it, making someone laugh and smile, but then just the connection.
Friends 1,000 miles away. There's a wine for that.
That just made me think like, awesome. I need to start doing wine Skype dates with Lindsay. I bet one of my good friends lives in Amsterdam. And so it's like.
That means one of you is drinking at 8 a.m. But
I mean, if I have to make that sacrifice for connection and for friendship, then that's what I have to do. Okay, so.
Lindsay's all the way down with that, by the way.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You're going to fight over who can open.
She'll take one for the team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She will. She will. Sure. Okay, so getting back to like the loose theme of the episode too, we wanted to kind of talk about the transition period because and with your company being so new, like the transition period between having an idea, having a passion, having kind of this thing that you're excited about that you want to do, and how do you transition that into an everyday business? Like this is what I want to kind of devote my time and focus on. And I'm curious to hear your answer to that too. Like I'm curious what the struggle was in that transition and kind of what pushes you to push through those obstacles. Like you were saying, like if you're working on something for 8 hours and you're nowhere closer than what you want to be, like what is that motivation or what
I think most
keeps
people
you
feel
pushing?
like they work for 40 hours in a week and they're no closer to what they wanted to do or where they want to be, and then you look up and years have gone by and it's not like the theme of this podcast could quickly become like kind of shitting on anyone who has a corporate job. And I think I think we do that a lot, but I think the reason that like kind of the concept of entrepreneurs being like famous now for being entrepreneurs, like Gary Vee, and there's a laundry list of people that fall into that same category. I think that's such I think we're at this time where we're able to use technology and virtually anyone can turn a passion into a business if they want to, if they're willing to sacrifice, the house or some new car that they would otherwise like to have. And for me,
have the patience to build it too.
And for me, I always felt like once you made a business card, even before you formed the company, if you had a business card and a name that you loved and an idea, you're on the right track. And the first time I did that, I thought I wanted to, even though I was working harder on that side than I was my regular job at the time, I was working in outside sales. I I found that to be more of a relief and more fulfilling, even though it was a harder job and I was getting a lot less back for it. And it just seemed to me like it was obvious that I was not going to continue to make somebody else a lot of money and do something that I didn't love when I had a lot of drive and I can learn anything. I don't believe that people say, oh, I'm not the kind of person who can do this, or I'm not the kind of person who do that. There's nobody who can't find a way to be really good at something they're passionate about.
Definitely.
You can hire out help. You can reach out to attorneys. There's so many different ways at LegalZoom. Like everyone, forming a company is $250. Skip a couple of things that are not that important to you. Spend $250 and form a company. Don't do anything with it for a year, but just the knowing of that being on the shelf as kind of always kind of tapping you, hello, I'm still here. Would you like to do something? It's things like that. But for me, it was, can I make $100 a day and not be told by anyone where I needed to be? Like I had to be places. Like I had to be there and open up the shop and run the business.
But you also wanted to be.
I wanted to. Yeah, I was dying. I mean, I remember just waiting the first day we opened the door on the first shop thinking, we put an ad on Craigslist. That's really not where you advertise this thing. And I went into some message boards. Hey, we're here. And pretty soon someone comes down the driveway. You kind of do that. Are they lost? Oh shit, they're coming to the door. I'm going to go back. I'll be in the back. If anything gets weird, just knock on the wall. You don't know. You're just kind of hoping somebody shows up. And that was the, kind of pre-internet. We couldn't do anything online. So it was literally a brick and mortar and just.
You still can barely do anything online.
Right.
You still can't get banned from advertising.
Very limited, yeah.
What you were talking about when you were saying that, like, the excuse people say, like, I'm not good at that side of it. I see that so much in the music industry where all the artists are like, oh, I can't do the business side. I'm just an artist. It's like, you can be an artist and be smart about what you're doing. And like, I think there's so many talented people that kind of use that to just, myself included.
I think for a long time. I think you've ramped it up hard in the last few years.
Because it's not the fun, freewheeling on stage performing part. It's like the grind and the boring pieces, but it makes the being on stage more effective.
Hey, can you read?
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
I know you're not good at that, but can you
Google
read? Can you read? Because if so, there's a YouTube video for that for sure. And it's like After Effects. I did not know. I was using the most basic editing tools possible, and I consider myself someone who's been doing videography. Like I was in a friend's wedding, and the back of my jersey was Spielberg. Like I filmed everything, but I'd never edited before, so I had 20 years of film and nothing to do with it. And when I would try to edit, it was like, oh my God. And I'd watch actually this guy that I'm wearing his hat, Peter McGinnon, I'd watch his videos and he would show these really cool transitions and he would jump in, let me show you how to do it. He'd jump into Pro Tools and it was like Greek. I didn't understand any of it. And now I'm not the world's best, but I'm shortcut keys. I'm flying through the editing process using that software, and I learned it entirely from watching YouTube videos.
Well, and you learn and you grow. Like, I think the number one thing I would say is like you have to learn how to be a cheerleader first because you're going to constantly need to give yourself pep talks. At least I do.
That's good.
And I'll sit there and I'll be like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then I'm like, wait a second, you love problem solving. That's why you're doing this.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out. You figured out all this other stuff. And I have a motto every year. I've had them like 15 years now. Like, I think the first one was go get 'em, Tiger, or something. Like something.
I'm pretty sure Frosted Flakes is pissed that you stole that. Yeah.
No, it was a long time. And then, like things like keep your eye on the prize. Like one year was Great Lakes, Great Times because I wanted to do a lot of boating that year. Just something to like keep my vision straight, for the year.
That's cool.
And this last year's was count the wins. And the reason it was that, and I wasn't telling myself to get big wins because I knew that's unlikely in your first year of business, but to make sure and appreciate how far I've come in every step. So when I get really down and frustrated that everything seems insurmountable, like the insane back-ass or liquor laws of states and everything.
Oh my gosh, Washington is exceptionally hard.
Oh, you're about
There's
to
so many freaking
send
states,
me
right?
into a spiral.
I know. I'm like, let's talk.
I have the same oversight that you do with
I can't
5
even
times the
imagine.
taxation, but let's keep going.
But like, so when I get down upon things like that or down on things like that, I just literally think like, oh my God, I've got my delivery company guy. We text each other now. Like when forget like I think back to the point when I didn't even know which delivery companies were possible and who would service, who would get my packages to the states I shipped to and stuff. And then that was a huge hurdle. Like I'm actually talking to a sales guy, like trying to figure out the nuances of what wine delivery looks like and everything.
Yeah.
And now here I have my guy, we text each other. He's
you
like,
got people,
I'm
right?
running
You
late
got
or I'm
people.
early. Yeah, I got people. Exactly. I got people.
Isn't
And
it
it's
always
like,
amazing how
that's
much
the wins,
they really
right?
want to be your people, though? I think
they
even
do. They want you to succeed too.
Right.
My printer guy, oh my gosh, like we've got a good thing going now, you know? Like I am like, hey, delivery has to come early. Can you guys ramp that up? Yeah, no problem. We'll do it for you.
But
I
really
didn't
easy.
have that, right? Like,
yeah, but it would be really easy to think like, wow, the whole printing thing, that means I've got to find somebody to do this. So And you don't realize like those businesses there's people just like you trying to make a business out of their printing business.
Totally.
The guy that does our one of our products, like we haven't left him because he makes stickers for us. Just we can make them cheaper ourselves, and it's a good small business in Tacoma, and he's was less expensive than any other option, and they're so willing to go above and beyond to make sure. And we've got to get stuff out east. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts, and their willingness to do it.
Yeah.
And then the other reference I'll make is when we started to try and ship CBD, I was like, wow, let's not set up an actual commercial account with USPS or UPS because I don't know how they feel about this. So let's just package it and we'll just do drop off ourselves. And then you really start to feel through. So now let's do it right. If we can't do it, let's not do it, but let's do it right. And one of our guys makes a connection with our UPS guys because we get a lot of deliveries at the kitchen. He said, hey, by the way, we want to do this. Next thing you know, he's like, when are you guys going to start shipping? And can I just pick up my order here? And like it's not only did they want to help us, we didn't have to hide it, but he went above and beyond to make sure that we understood that we could call corporate and be treated like any other customer. And in my industry, that's not usually an option. So there are times when you sit back and you think, I don't want to do this or I would do this, but it's all of these problems. There are people who want to help your business succeed because it's in the best interest of their business.
Like sometimes you have to get creative. But I remember the day that I went to this printer down the road, and I spent an hour at least looking at different paper options and literally feeling and obsessing over, I don't like the feel of this. Oh, when I fold it, it crinkles or,
Yeah, it makes it weird. Yeah, I know exactly
and
what you're
it's
talking
like that day I remember feeling like, oh my God, there's so much to do. Like it took me an hour to pick out a paper and I'm not even sure I'm satisfied. And then it's like a year later, oh, that's funny. Like it's funny that was like
a thing.
That
was the thing.
Totally.
But here I am now, like printing orders, like I'm the boss there, just because they're so kind to me and want me to succeed. And
it's just puzzle pieces. It's like these things that seem so like, well, I have to find this and this and this. Once you do, it's like putting the pieces of the puzzle together and then bringing those kind of characters into your life that do want to see you succeed. And you're like, once you find those people or those pieces, it's like, oh, why did I think that was a problem?
Yep.
Like I think the more you
problem to solve, right? And then, like that's why like count the wins was the best motto I could have had last year
good.
because I was constantly reminding myself during the hard days. Wait. Think about all those things that you did solve. Yeah, you got a new set of problems. You'll always have a new set of problems to solve. Like until the moment you're 6 feet under, you're going to have new problems to solve, right?
Your business isn't growing unless you're developing new problems or new hate. It's the company that copies your name. It's a little too close, and they're doing the same idea. You'll know you've kind of jumped off, and you've got something if it's starting to be replicated for sure. I think one of the things that was like a turning point for us was really digging into social media algorithms and looking at how things work and Susan was like this 2-year beta test because there's so many restrictions around my industry that we can't run ads and we can't do a lot of things. So I kind of, and I want everything to be super, super polished when it's my side of the fence.
Yes. And I'm much more like, that's good enough.
Yeah. And I'm
sure,
like,
put it
no,
out.
that's why she goes to sleep and I edit for another 2 hours. But the point is giving us this opportunity, and it's really what Under the Influence is how do we incorporate all of our businesses and tap into this kind of influencer lane that's become so popular, and watching different algorithms and how they play out. So running multiple ads against different versions of of an audience and seeing what they respond to, and then seeing how companies that are actually running these platforms start to shift or take certain things away so that it costs more to be involved. And I think, like for us, Instagram, we were on fire. Like it was Susan, we were like hitting everything just right and building this.
We just talked about this today, and now like the organic reach is down.
It's gone.
So and I see it on my page. I'm like, man, I don't have the engagement that I used to. And then I look at people that were light years ahead of me on Instagram, and I'm looking at their engagement. I was like, man, they're really down too. Like, it's just not the same platform.
What was 500 or 600 likes, a year ago is 50 now. Wow. And the idea, likes will seem they're on their way to going away.
That's not real. They keep saying it's going to go away.
Some people
they went away for my personal account.
Yeah,
did they?
Some people I don't know what the process is, and I've looked around a lot on this to figure out what it is.
I haven't seen any gone yet.
But the idea of them going, but really, it comes down to this: if you've got an audience of, like Susan, 15 to 20,000 people, and when you add in some of the other outreach, she's got a pretty big reach across all platforms, and they're not going to sit back and let her run a business that pays her pretty well and sends a lot of free product her way to use their platform. They're basically saying, listen, if you want constant active engagement, it's probably going to cost you $300 or $400 a month to do it. And I think that's a good trade. And if it's not, well, then you pivot to the next thing. But there's a path of least resistance with them. Like right now, Instagram would like more people posting content on IGTV. So if we do the exact same cover song on Instagram, it'll get 50 likes, 1,000 views. If you do that do it 40 seconds longer and put it on IGTV, it'll get 5 times the coverage, because they're putting out more organic reach and putting it in front of more people, because they want content creators to be providing that platform, and they want viewers to be on that platform. So they're making it's just like having a little better party for that section of the club.
Yeah.
And so you see where they're driving people's attention, and that's been the fun part for us.
Yeah, and how well it responds when you do what they want you to. Like I was just saying, I had a blog post, and I put an image from the blog on my Instagram, and I promoted it, and it was like, I don't know, $8. And I just had it a little bit longer, a few longer days and it had, I don't know, like 8 times the engagement, as opposed to like my other posts where I, don't promote it and it gets a lot less just,
it's frustrating because if you're just someone who wants has a cool video and just wants their family to see it, they're probably not going to, because of the business side of the platform.
And I feel like that's most people that use it just want to if you're an average person and you are proud of something, want to put it out there. Like, you do want the people that follow you to see it.
Yeah, and I think you get that natural organic reach with your immediate family and some friends, which is, mine, I've never done a good job with. My Instagram is like whatever I think is fun or cool. I'm a lot of photography and video stuff. Like, it's not really, I'm not talking much about the industry. It's just kind of whatever. I try to do quality content, but it's whatever I feel like I want to post.
It's more like a visual passion project.
Yeah, it's that's probably a good way to put it. Anyway, but like last night we did a TikTok video, and we did the exact same video. I just asked Susan to play a song real quick. She did like 30 seconds. The whole thing was 30 seconds long. She did no hashtags and focused on one area of TikTok. I chose a different path and chose different hashtags, and hers got 250 views and mine got 3,000. And I was like
pissed.
I got an engagement rate, but think about that. I've been on Instagram posting high quality content, like professional quality photography and videography, and some of her stuff and some of mine. But I don't put I don't take a cell phone picture of something crappy and put it up there. Usually there's some thought behind it. And I get 15 people that engage with it. Yeah. And I do a TikTok video because it's a new platform. They're trying to drive audience. I get engagement of over 5,000 people between views, likes, and comments. Yep. And that was like my 5th video I've ever put up on TikTok. And so, and part of that is like, we're the new platform. Yeah. We're sharing the love. We're spreading it around. So we're in a position now where all I've been doing is using Susan as a case study for.
I don't mind.
Yeah, and it works out well for our businesses as well. But I'm able to test the algorithms and see what works for the businesses and what we can and can't do.
Mm-hmm. And just as a personal gripe, what pisses me off is that there's so many things in your ads that get flagged. Like, you can't say anything about weed or anything. And yet there's like the 15-year-old girls being hella slutty and just like, I'm afraid to open it anywhere.
The music, it's like.
Yeah. And it's just like, why this? Why allow this?
But you can use a song that they have built into the platform that talks about smoking weed and riding dick.
Ew.
And like being really aggressive. And then I have one where I'm waving at a drone as it's flying by, and there's green plants that are borderline indistinguishable.
Yeah.
And I'm like shadow. And I'm not shadow banned. I'm all the way banned for 2 weeks.
It's crazy.
It's happened multiple times, and then we can't advertise this channel. A lot of this cannot. That's why we haven't gone too hard on YouTube.
Because our trailer,
has
you talk about what you do for your job.
Yep. I said I work in the cannabis industry, and it has me walking through a greenhouse with plants for like 4 seconds, and it's can't use it. But my Lord, some of the stuff that you can advertise and market is just crazy. So that's part of the reason why for that will change. In time, and we're already seeing those. Facebook's allowed a little bit of CBD advertising. We're seeing some of this stuff just kind of come together for us. But I've really just been using, like I said, Susan and other brands that are not tied to the cannabis industry as a beta test to figure out how we're ultimately going to market the brands and services. So I'm interested in your product because obviously a platform like TikTok that has, there's a huge demographic of 13 to 20-year-olds that are driving most of the traffic. But I don't know if you've messed with it at all, but that age is shooting up very, very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, they'll grow and they'll be of drinking age soon enough. And,
So you can say that and I can't. That pisses me off. But if I said, well, they can't smoke yet, but they can in a few years.
Well, wait a second. I got flagged for trying to sell my baby's old formula the other day.
What?
So yeah.
No way.
They thought it was alcohol formula. I don't know. It's just some formula we had lying around. They were like, oh, wait, this isn't expired. We should sell it. And then Facebook flagged me. I was like, okay.
Well,
I think you. Anyways. But yeah, so I mean, I think TikTok. I have downloaded the app. So.
Yeah, it's so addicting. I think it's the end of times for people because it's even. I was showing Susan's dad, who's in his 70s.
That was like a couple years ago.
Right. He's in his 70s though, and he's watching it, and it's just this endless wormhole of. It's funny, it's lighthearted. There's not a lot of political elements to it at all. You have to kind of want to create content, but I think with what you're doing, your platform, there's so many opportunities,
especially
to do
like little shorts,
goofy
like 30
little shorts.
seconds.
Oh,
Yeah,
I mean, and I have a lot of buffoons for friends, so I'm just trying to rope them in helping me do.
I have a lot of buffoon friends as well. So if you ever need more, you let me know. We've got a girls' weekend coming up. Ooh. I'm pretty excited.
It's like the most professional group of women who can be wildly unprofessional. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I saw your video after you guys had a little too much champagne one night.
We were probably out at the Bellevue Lifestyle event.
Trying to convince somebody not to have a baby or something.
Yes.
Well, he was on the fence. I mean, he had a good point. If he's on the fence.
He wasn't, but his wife was.
Oh, his wife?
And I was like, that's fair because she has to do it.
No, yes, that's very fair.
So I was telling him it's hard. And this is and how I've gotten criticized on my blog talking about pregnancy and childbirth because I say the really shitty parts about it. And it's like, this is so hard. And why did no one tell me about this? And I obviously love my child. I am very grateful that I was able to have a kid. But this is the stuff that I wanted to know that I found very little of.
Yes.
So with the content I put out, I want it to be honest and actually helpful for people that don't know what they're doing, which is exactly what I was doing.
Which it causes people to be like, well,
people are like,
you should just be lucky that you have the ability
you need to be
as
joyful.
If you don't work, all the time and are always doing things.
I mean, there is not a second I don't think about my kids or love my kids, and it doesn't mean I can't make fun of them or joke about them or make fun of us.
I was hard on Caden
when we're dealing with them.
Our youngest to my friends, I was hard on him. Like, oh, this little bastard just cries for his mom constantly. I can't get any love out of this kid. And no one was like, oh, when you said bastard, you don't like him, or this is too hard for you. You should just be glad that he's healthy. I'm like, I fucking love him to death. He's just a punk right now. We can be totally honest about this.
I remember you were Googling how to bond with your baby, and it was for the dad, and it was change his diapers and
wake up at night when he
give
cries.
Him a bottle, and you're like, oh yeah, go in so he doesn't smell the mom. Whenever he's like, I'm doing all these things, and he still doesn't like me.
Well, I was Googling is it normal to feel like you don't have any connection with this kid because he just doesn't, and it was not it has nothing to do with my feelings towards it. I knew in the moment that it was a temporary thing, but I was just trying to figure out, I was trying to be a good parent and be really honest about the situation and just Google what I felt. And when there's 987,000 responses to that and message boards.
Somebody else has felt that way.
Right. Yeah. And it's but this idea, women cannot do that.
Well, I went through such a huge depression when I had with my daughter, who's the best baby, best kid, everything, but I was so depressed when I was pregnant with her. And I would Google so many times pregnant and depressed. And that's when I knew NCA is not spying on anybody. Right? Because they have not sent help to my door. Someone should have been there.
Right.
The amount of times I cried because the pizza was an hour late or something, just just some major breakdowns. I can laugh now, but yeah.
I just, when you said that I had like PTSD for when I was the most hungry, I was like 8 months pregnant, starving. And we had ordered something and it was like an hour late. And I was like, I'm literally going to die if I don't eat this. And then we called them like, oh, there's some problem. And I was like, I don't think you understand how badly I need this food. Oh, made me very upset.
I've done this twice, and you don't even register on the scale of intense when it comes to being pregnant. But
well, that's very kind.
yeah,
I definitely
you're hard
still
on
feel
yourself
very
for that.
crazy.
Yeah,
But what can you do?
It's just not pregnancy related.
Yeah, exactly. It's just how long does the postpartum
how long
last?
does that-
I blame that on that.
How long can that baby wait be?
Yeah.
So
Seriously.
it kind of coming back to that because I think
bring it back. Bring it back.
I think I have a question for you that'll be not easy for you to answer, but it'll be helpful. And if you've listened to our podcast, there are a few, like whenever I always have someone in mind that I'm kind of thinking of that I wish would do something, or who I've encouraged in the past to do something, or Susan has. And a couple of those people over the last year or so have actually like done the thing we wanted so much for them to do, and
awesome.
and they found
see them like blossom.
Yeah, not because of us, but just getting to watch them kind of come into their own and find different ways to chase their passions. And so one of the things I wanted to ask you is what is something that the version of yourself today would have told yourself a year ago, or when you were in the process of getting started with this whole thing? What's something you could say, like just put your hand on your own shoulder and say, forget about this. This is nothing. Just go.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing I would say to my past self is the thing that I'll say to myself tomorrow too, because I feel like I'm nowhere yet, right? Like I'm only a couple months into this thing, and this thing can be so big,
right,
and I can have so much fun doing this, and
or,
I think
it can just be a passion project that you love and you're really good at, and it covers.
And I learn a lot from, right? Like,
right. But and the only reason I say it's not necessarily for you; it's for anyone else that's listening.
Yeah,
like
totally.
there's nothing wrong with something just being. I said to musicians all the time. A friend who's now actually quite famous I was saying, well, what's wrong? You make $55,000 a year. You get free drinks everywhere you go. People love you. We all think you're a little mini rock star. What if this is it? And who gives a shit if this is it? This is
you're
awesome.
Still doing what you love every night.
I think that really is it, though, is like that have fun. Like for me, like the amount of fun I've had in this last year, learning all these little things, putting this thing together, building something, creating something, being creative, getting to use my analytical brain, my creative brain. And for me, most of all, is this like extrovert that, works from home, getting to meet so many cool people. Like, what the hell? If this thing like folds tomorrow, like that was a hell of a fun year.
Yeah.
I learned so much. Like I'm so much further along as a person and have grown, like surpassed my own expectations of what I could do. And it's not going to fold tomorrow. Like I really hope not. Knock on wood, but at the same time, like I see great things for it. But yes, it's about that journey. It's about how much fun I'm having, learning everything, meeting new people like you guys, and then like you just, like I said, you got to give yourself pep talks all the time. Like count those wins. Like everyone's going through hard stuff, and everyone has challenges. And I'm just glad I'm not at my stupid desk, like banging my head against the desk, doing having the same challenges over and over and over.
Yeah.
And like, I won't even go, that's a whole nother podcast, but it's like, I'm happy that I have different challenges every day and different problems to solve and new things I get to learn. And
you want to solve those problems because you want to see where this goes.
Yeah,
it's like
totally
a living, breathing.
It's my third baby.
Yeah.
That's so
well, and I think there are people who like the desk job, like the comfort they get from the security based on their personality is the trade that makes perfect sense for them. And I have one of my best friends. He's been the best man in both my weddings. Like he works a hard job at Russell, and he works crazy hours. So does his significant other, and that's part of what started this. I was getting ready to take the Series 7 exam. I was going to apply to a job there. I have like 30 friends that work at the same firm. I didn't think it was going to be a big issue for me to get hired on there. And I just thought, for him, this is the best. It's a huge retirement plan. He makes a lot of money. He doesn't mind the work. He doesn't have kids. I don't think he wants to have kids. And he's dating somebody in this field. Like it makes a lot of sense for him. And for me, I think I would have failed miserably.
But like not like doing your own thing and stuff is not for everybody, right? Like you're saying, like some people, that is great. And I think more power to you. I think it's
or
like
their
when
own
you're
thing
talking
is something
about,
totally different. It's having a huge retirement account.
yeah,
You know,
but
or
it's
whatever
like
that
when you're
is.
talking to your friends who are complaining like the same complaint year after year, then it's like those are the people you want to encourage. And
Yeah, those are the ones who want to kick their ass.
Yes.
Is what you want to do.
At first, right? But then, like, I remember, like, it took me a long time to leave my old career too, because it is hard to leave a good paycheck and something it becomes kind of easy because like you understand the challenges. So it's like it's not challenging to deal with the challenges. Like challenges are challenging, but it's nothing new, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And there's no unknowns. It's just like the same BS.
Or how
every
much of
day,
your check
right?
is just going to go right back into trying to create some. I've waived
like
salary
this-
for 2 years now, basically.
Yeah,
and
starting your
my
own
wife's
thing's a
going,
big
"What the
risk."
fuck are you doing?"
Yeah.
I'm like, so I get my hair done? No? Okay. We'll push that back.
You're
We'll
like,
push that back.
ponytail, yeah, got it. Yeah. But no, but it is starting a business and doing anything on your own is a big risk. But that being said, like if you find these friends, like if there are certain friends who are having that same complaint year after year, like just stick with them. And I know I personally have had a couple friends myself who have started their own things and gone off their own paths, and I'm so proud of them, and they're so proud of me, and we kind of. I feel even closer to them that we're in this together of like encouraging each other. Now in our 40s, I'm going to be 45 next month. Oh God. But like, it's crazy. It's like, wow, this is phase 2, and phase 2 is a hell of a lot more fun than phase 1 so
Right.
far. And
Yeah.
I
Right.
thought phase 1 was kind of fun. So,
Even phase 2, like what is a failure of phase 2? Like I'm asking that as a loaded question because I don't think
I don't
there's
think
a
there is
single
one.
failure.
Yeah. And that's like the beauty of the wisdom of getting to phase 2, right?
Right.
Where like, you did all those things
Because you're
that
playing
you
with
needed
house
to do
money,
in
like you
phase
can't
1.
take
Yeah.
anything from me that I didn't have. I can build myself back to where I am now
Yeah.
on the next idea, the next thing. There's really the illusion that there's somebody out there that would pull you aside and say, "Here's how this works."
Right.
It doesn't exist.
Or the fact that like you realize, no one's waiting at the gate giving me permission to live the life and do the things that I want to do. And I
Or
think
you
when you're younger, you think like, well, I can't do X because of that
Well,
person.
you're
or
not
that
supposed
thing.
to. Like I know, like my grandparents and parents' generation, like they not only had the same career for 40 years, they had the same job, like the same
Yeah.
desk, right?
Yeah.
And then our generation, or maybe you guys a little younger, but like my generation's like, okay, well, we still had to
One
have
of us
some
is a little
loyalty. We still had some loyalty where it's like, okay, you should probably hang out to a job for 10, 20 years.
I think
and
the companies had more loyalty than 2, though.
Right.
Then,
Yeah.
well, that's kind of out the window now too.
Totally.
It's like, at least, let's again, different
Yeah.
podcast. But then like the younger generation, I think something that I've learned from them personally was actually a buddy of mine was in the wine industry, and I was like, oh, what are you gonna do next? And he's like, oh, I'll do something else. Like I'll figure it out. Like
Yeah.
I had a great time doing that wine biz, and I'm gonna
Right.
do something else. And I was like, whoa, that's awesome. And and I just thought, yeah, God, that's the right attitude, because it's about the growth and the learning. And yeah, you got to put food on the table and you got to figure that out. And so you got to be responsible.
That
but there's
happens.
ways to do it. Yeah.
It
when
always
you follow your
happens.
passions, there's ways to figure that
And
out.
it's the development of you as a person and your story,
Yeah.
like and what it's going to become. And I think when, like you were saying yes, that first time, like jumping off the cliff, the first time, that first step is always
step.
the hardest. But then once you do it, it's like, why didn't I do this sooner? You know, it's like
Yeah,
jumping
I've
off
never-
the diving
it's a
board.
long game, right? It's like you're doing
Yeah.
everything. Like, I'm trying to like get back in the fitness game here after 2 kids, and I actually for the first time in my life thought to myself, oh, I'm not working out today for today. I'm doing it for summer, so I don't have to bitch about how chubby I feel in summer or how lethargic or lazy I feel, right? It's like, wait, if I start this today, and remind me of this tomorrow when I'm skipping my workout, but
Dude.
like
Yep.
it's like I started thinking differently this last year. It's about the long game. It's about doing these things to grow and to learn and to have fun, like enjoy it all, like enjoy that experience. And then the rest. So my dad, like we have a interesting, history. I love him very much, but definitely we've battled a lot, like, daughter dad battles. But the one thing like he told me that is life-changing that he's been telling me since I was little is have a goal in mind and then don't really think about it. Do the work.
Yeah.
And if you do the work, the goal comes.
Yeah.
And it like a little bit of me gets like pissed that he's the one that said
Did
this.
it?
But
Yeah.
like, I mean, I do love him, but it's like,
Totally.
damn it.
You
he
bastard.
didn't know what he's talking about. But it's true. It's like, and you got to remind, it's like, no, don't like, just do the work, have fun.
And it's the
learn it.
consistency. It's
Yeah.
not the one workout or the one,
That's
I'm
a
going
good
to
point.
dial
Yeah.
in my nutrition that does it. It's like, that's what I'm reminding myself. Because when
good
you
point.
said after 2 kids, like I've talked to this before and I could go into it for hours, but I have always been like into fitness, and I really kind of amped it up before I got pregnant. And I was finally like, yes, I feel strong. I love working out. I'm super, pumped. And then I got pregnant. And then after the baby, like I was thinking in my head, like, oh, I'm super competitive. I'm going to bounce back. And it's like, 7 months later, I'm like, oh, no, it doesn't just work like that. And so I get so frustrated with my workouts because it's not, I'm like, is this even doing anything? I don't even know. But I know if I don't do that one, then in 2 months, I'm going to be way, way further behind. And it's like the reminder of the consistency of doing the work, even if you don't see the results, like it will come eventually. And as someone who's very impatient, it sucks. Right? It sucks.
Anything in life.
Yeah, anything.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been playing
Anything of
basketball
value.
a couple days a week so that when the boys are kind of 12 to 15, I can play basketball with them. That's really, that's really what it comes down to, is like playing with Carter. Like right now, obviously I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm taller, but there is going to come a time where we could actually play legitimate basketball with and against each other, but not if I stayed on the path that I was on, where I was just, everything was work. And I think it wasn't until I started doing that it started to like feed back into work and provide positives back on both sides.
I can tell a difference for sure.
Baller.
Positive,
Yeah.
But then I'm
sitting over here like half broken right now.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking about, I was like, I want to work out so I can do stuff. We went to a kid's birthday party yesterday.
Susan was trying to skateboard.
I was trying to skateboard. I don't know how to skateboard at all. And I was like, okay, I got this. Just totally biffed it. I fell. I'm like, oh, that's fine. And yesterday I was like, oh my gosh, my whole arm hurts so bad. I'm like in so much pain. I was like, that was one measly fall and I'm like broken. It's embarrassing.
Well,
We're just
skateboarding,
getting old.
that
It's
is
a
not
dangerous game.
something to pick up in your early 30s.
Yep.
Oh, whippersnapper.
Yeah, she's a child.
Nice.
What do we got?
So-
I have one more question for
Okay.
you. You were reading a lot of books, and you can say, I don't remember, and that's fine. Is there a book that stands out to you, even if you don't remember it? Like, give me, I'll subtitle.
For wine? Like,
no.
just anything
You
that
were
you were
reading. You were
reading.
taking stuff in, whether it's wine, whether it's business motivation. Like, what's a book that when you meet somebody, you go, ooh, this is what you should read?
Well, I think at that time I was just reading wine books and the Wine Bible, Karen McNeil, like just so much information, so dense. Like I think I hated it the first chapter and then I couldn't put it down. Like once I got used to the pace of the density, just so cool, so much information in there and so fun, so inspiring. And, and then I'm kind of into this like cheesy thoughts of like, put out there in the universe what you want and like,
Secret stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the secret. Yeah, back in the day, like Oprah. She kind of figured some stuff out. And or she's on it. She's in tune.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. She's kind of flopped a little bit. You
No,
know?
she has.
Oh,
Oprah
come
has
on. She's
not
a
flopped.
billionaire. Of course she didn't
Her
flop.
flop's still pretty.
She
pretty
didn't
damn
flop.
good.
It was a joke. She's a billionaire.
I was
She's
gonna
one of
say,
the.
I'm like,
Yeah.
if that's flopping, I'll go flop.
I'll flop Oprah style all day long. Give me a
Can we
break.
hashtag that?
Yeah.
Flop
Oprah style.
But no, I think I just heard my friends got me onto these books on tape. Have you guys heard of this? Apparently, this is a thing.
Oh,
So
Susan-
yeah,
audiobooks.
exactly.
Susan reads
So
like five
I'm like
books a
10
week.
years behind every trend.
She hasn't read a book in 2 years. She listens to
audio
books.
because it's the only way I can get. I am not naturally a homemaker, so it's like doing mundane tasks like sucks my soul of like doing the dishes and trying to clean and all that stuff. And so it's the only way. Like if I put a book on or a podcast on, especially on like when I take the baby on long walks and he would just scream all day long, it's like, okay, this is something I can do that is like fueling my brain, that I don't have to be sitting and staring at something. I can like, I liked that I could do other things while I listened. So that's the only way I got through so many books.
So Susan, what's your book? I know the answer, but
What is it? What?
well, I want you to answer it.
Well, I feel like I want to change it because I don't want you to know.
Well, I feel
I
like
have
you've already
two.
said it multiple times on the podcast.
I have two.
Okay.
The one that comes to mind the most, honestly, now is Michelle Obama's book, Becoming.
That's not
I
what
know.
I wrote down.
And there's so many examples of like life lessons that she talked about, and just like
It is amazing. I listened to a lot of it with
Yes.
you. It is way more engaging
Yeah,
than I ever thought it would even
and I
possibly
took away
be.
pieces of like parenting advice
Yeah,
from
it's
that book.
profound in
where
some
she said that
spots.
her mom would wouldn't she would guide, but then leave the decisions open. She was like, it's not my job to raise good kids. It's my job to raise good adults. And I was like, ooh, that's really good. Anyway, so that one I always come back to. And then the 7 decisions.
Yeah, that's what I wrote down.
That was a
7
game
decisions.
changer for me.
7 decisions. You should, if you read 7 decisions and Story Brand,
Okay.
I feel like your business will be moved ahead a year, and your motivation and drive to put it to work will be. It's one of those things. I just can't imagine somebody who started a business or is about to reading either one of those books and not just having their ass on fire.
Nice.
Yeah.
Story Brand is. I don't know. It's an older book, but I think that when I read that, I see every successful company that I've ever kind of said, you see companies out there go, oh, I like what they're doing. I'm gonna put them, you follow their socials and just kind of take a little bit more notice of what they're doing. The Story Brand is the way that films are created. It's the pathology for any good story is built around these basic concepts, and it's it completely outlines those at their kind of rawest, most plain form. Cool. And when you've hit on so many of the things, like you owe it to yourself to read Story Brand, because so much of what you're doing with your company is the idea is that there's a mentor and a hero. And when you watch a movie, you need your customer to be the hero. You're the mentor to help them get there. So by providing them a solution or a smile or a warm feeling, your company is not coming in and saying, buy our wine, we're the best. It's your friend that's actually the hero. You're the mentor to their friend who makes the person
Helping
receiving it
people be the
feel
hero,
really warm.
yeah.
And so without getting too far in it, read it. Please,
Yeah.
Or listen to it. I hear these audiobooks are really hot shit. Yeah,
Because you can listen to it in traffic. It helps with my road rage.
yeah. I read that book in one day, and I like to read things, and I'll put it away and come back to it like weeks later. I read that book in one day and took about 30 pages of notes, and I feel like my notebook is I just basically rewrote the book while I was reading it, and it was one of those like I don't know what to do with these notes because I just throw them away and read the book again. But yeah. That's mine.
Yeah. And then the 7 decisions is about this guy who his parents had died. He was homeless and he was living under a bridge and basically said so is this just kind of what life is? You kind of
I read this book multiple times and I don't remember any of that.
Oh, yeah. That's how he got started on it. Cause he was like, if life
you
is
read
just,
a bio or something before. He doesn't talk about that in
he
7.
did. In the beginning, this is how he set it up. So he said he was under a bridge and he thought, is this just what life is? Are you dealt the cards you do? What is the difference between a homeless person living under a bridge and a successful person? And he said, there's something that there's got to be some common denominators between people who are doing well, living passionately, all these things. And so he started interviewing athletes and politicians and anyone who was, had any kind of clout to them at all, and he came up with these 7 common denominators, and that's what
the whole book is about.
Yeah.
As a little asterisk to that, I feel like he interviewed those people. I don't feel like I ever remember him being homeless, but
he was.
Okay, if that's true,
he was.
Andy Andrews is his name.
I'm going to listen next week and I'll let you know.
Okay, for sure.
Yep.
Okay, well I missed that part.
Well, that was the
makes it
most
cooler.
important part.
I thought the 7 decisions that he found to be paramount to success.
Yeah, but
being
I
the
like
most
the
important
story that brought it to those conclusions.
You sad bastard.
You just got to know the BTS,
Okay. So, any closing remarks or anything that we feel like we're not going to walk away from this conversation with knowing about your business or your plans or what you plan to do next?
I mean, other than world domination, but that's kind of on everybody's agenda, right?
So, real quick, run down where can we find it? What should we look for?
www.chipmonkeywine.com. They got about 60 occasions, client gifts, housewarming, you name it. Your friends' pipes just burst and flooded their garage. There's a wine for that. There's wine for everything. Also, Instagram at Chipmonkey Wine. Just starting to build that page.
Yeah.
A little behind the times there. And
no,
catching up fast. And So, but it's just, I encourage people, my big push this year is to get people to think about being thoughtful when people aren't expecting it. The holidays are great and everything, but, thoughts count so much more when they're out of the blue.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage people to be thoughtful, whether it's through my company or anything else. Be kind, be thoughtful, connect with people all year round.
Yeah.
not just in December.
I mean, I think there's enough people listening. If somebody sent us one every week, we'd be good for the year at
I
least.
wouldn't hate that at
There's
all.
got to be a wine
Stock your wine fridge.
for
Everything.
busy folks. Anyway.
Well, thank you
thanks
so
for coming
much
out.
for coming
It
on.
was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And until next time, ladies and gents,
We're out.
we are out. Just click the pen. You said don't click the pen.
That's all right. I'll click it.
It's like ASMR.
ASMR.
That's the thing where they do like the little and the wine. Let's do a wine switch. Oh, that's good. She did a wine switch.
She's a good ASMR.
What did I do?
Ask her.